Welcome back to Avert Alzheimer's. We have now officially moved over to pillar number 2. And pillar number 2 is exercise. So I've created this whole little classroom setting in an attempt to try and be a little more educational. Because I believe when I'm learning something, I like to learn it in a classroom setting, and I kind of want to be able to do the same for you. So it'll be a mix-up. You'll see some other forms of videos, but I want to be able to share with you in writing, in a visual context, what is really important to me in Alzheimer's prevention. And so today we're going to talk about exercise. What I want to talk about is what exercise used to look like versus what exercise looks like now. What I'm going to begin with before processed food became a thing. So if you look at this video that I'm going to put a little clip of on here, you can see what exercise in the 1940s looks like. Men and women were active on a regular basis. They didn't have cars. I know cars were around, but not every person on the planet had a car. Television wasn't yet a household amenity. And so they were busy. They just moved around a lot. And so exercise in the 1940s and 50s was not quite what we see it as today, because people had active lives. They were just go, go, go. Well, then in 1946, the first fast food restaurant opened up, and boxed food became a big deal. And housewives were getting busier and busier. We were post-World War II. A lot of women had started to work, and they needed to have something easy that they could do in their kitchen. So here's our timeline. So this is 1940s. Let's get a zero that actually matches the rest of the numbers here. Hang on. So here's the 1940s. This is 2022. We're going to kind of fill the gaps in a little bit today, and I'm not going to make this a really long video, but I want to go through this. 1940s, women were working. It's the first time women had gone to work in mass like they were. They were covering for the men who were all fighting for us. The men came back. They wanted to get jobs. They wanted their old jobs back. Women were having to kind of relocate. Some stayed in the workforce, but others started to kind of go back home and take care of the family again. They were still very busy. However, the women had gotten so accustomed to having to come up with things really quickly that we started to see mass-produced foods. We started to see boxed cake mixes. We started to see instant mashed potatoes. Things that before World War II weren't really a consideration. Like, you wanted things to be made from scratch. That was the big deal. Food was whole. Food needed to be made from scratch. And so then in the 40s, we start seeing our first fast food restaurant and a lot of boxed food. So then we get into the 50s and 60s. And here, you still have a lot more of nuclear family values in both generations. You start, but you see a lot busier lifestyles. People are a lot more go, go, go. Technology is evolving. TVs are starting to come into homes on a regular basis. People are sitting a lot more. They're not active like they were. But the kids still go outside and play, right? Video games have not yet been invented. In the 60s, we begin to see a lot of the love child type behavior. Hippies come into play, a lot of dancing, still fluid movement happening. In the 70s, we go back to war. We're in Vietnam. Families are still, pretty active. And then we hit the 80s. And in the 80s, we started seeing the standard American diet, which is sad, became a way of living here. So we were supposed to start converting from lard and butter and really good saturated fats to eating a lot of vegetable oils. And they were promoted as heart healthy, and we were told that we could eat these things and not have to worry about our bodies, and fat-free cheeses, and we needed this no-fat mentality to really sink in, and it did. I remember my grandmother switching from butter to margarine, and it was devastatingly awful, but you know, you get used to what you're drinking and eating. And she went to saccharin. Saccharin was our sweetener that she used in tea, and I remember how just bitter and gross it tasted to me. But that was the wave of the new generation. This was what was going to keep us healthier. So in the 80s, we start seeing weight gain. We start seeing people getting fatter. Video games come out. Kids don't go outside and play like they used to. Activities start to dwindle. So now we start seeing videos coming out with people like Jane Fonda and Suzanne Summers and Denise Austin, and it's a lot of aerobic exercise, cardio, gotta be heart healthy. Everything was about the heart. Everything was promoting heart health. Gotta be healthier. Jazzercise. And here's your clip of jazzercise. You know, I mean, the recognition was there that we were starting to see a lot of weight gain happening, but the reason behind the weight gain was not quite yet known. We believed it was because we were more sedentary, and while yes, there's definitely a link to living a more sedentary life, what we didn't know, what wasn't published, what still in most cases won't be published is, it was actually the oils and the processed foods. This is what was creating obesity. This is the standard American diet, and it is still promoted in today's schools. So now we are 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Here we are in 2022, and we are celebrating obesity. We are treating obesity as if it is the new way to live. But we are also watching an epidemic of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia take over our parents and our grandparents, and it's hitting people at younger and younger ages. And the biggest part of that is because we were taught that all we need to do is eat like this, and I mean vegetable oils and seed oils. We just needed to eat this stuff and we would be healthy. Video games became more rampant. Nintendo came out after Atari. We have the GameCube, we have Sega, now we have, I don't even know what they all are, PlayStations and Xbox Ones and whatever else is out there now. We have all of this gaming. I remember when I was a little girl and we had to walk to the arcade to play video games while we stood on our feet to play them. There was no sitting down. But now, kids, since about the late 90s until now, they hardly leave their house. They hardly leave the dark space that they call their bedroom to go participate with gaming outside. Sports. Socializing. Socializing was the main form of exercise when I was growing up. We rode our bikes everywhere. We went and played and hiked big hills and created forts and did all kinds of fun stuff when we were kids. But it starts here, right? It starts at youth. And then you have to work your way into living that life. But that's the problem today, is people don't want to live that life. They enjoy that sedentary, and we see so many publications talking about how we need to love our bodies as they are, no matter what size we are. Even if it kills us, and the likelihood is it will. Exercise is the gateway drug to heart health. It's the gateway drug to anti-Alzheimer's. It's the gateway drug to happiness beyond anything you can get from food. It's the gateway drug to a long life. So I challenge you over these next few weeks while we talk about different forms of exercise and why it's so important to think about what your life was like when you were living in whatever generation you were born or decade you were born, and what your life looks like today. And if you are already having any memory issues, any kind of cognitive decline, I challenge you to pick up a set of weights. And next week you'll know why. Please join me next week. Comment below whatever you enjoyed about this video or what you didn't enjoy about this video. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get every episode that I leave. And I hope that you will really pay attention to this particular pillar, because it's probably the one we all want to do the least, but the one we all need the most. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.